No, yeah.
Okay. We don't have any minutes from the last meeting?
We gotta do secretary too. I nominate Danielle, seeing that she's not here, for secretary.
I second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
She was our secretary, so.
Okay.
Chair, secretary.
There we go.
All right, just skip the minutes. Open discussion. I wanted to review our mission statement and goals, cause we did that the very first meeting and I didn't write anything down and I forgot all about it.
Okay.
So I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember what it was either. That was way too long ago.
That meeting was so long ago, I looked back in my documents. and-
Well, is there a video of it?
Yeah, I can go back. and
So
Okay.
worst comes to worst, you can watch the video.
Okay.
It's on the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where I watch all the meetings,
Yeah.
so that way I can
all right.
figure out what the hell's going on.
I took the time to create incredibly broad goals when I saw my name on the agenda like an hour and a half ago. So I've got those. But
Alright,
I don't know if we wanna look at them and vote them in or just
for what?
for goals.
For goals? You're the chair.
we can talk about
Yeah.
things, show you, just so that maybe get the juices flowing, and then other people can come up with other ideas, and then we'll actually write them down, and then
Or we could always go back and watch them in the video.
these are my incredibly broad goals.
Let's watch Netflix. Maybe someone.
Did you watch The Outlaws yet?
No.
Pretty funny.
Is it?
Yeah. James Bond from the 90s is a bank robber,
No, I have not watched that.
but he has to go to his daughter's wedding.
Huh?
Okay.
Alright, I got
Which James Bond?
Yeah.
one from the 90s, Pierce Brosnan.
Okay.
Brosner?
Okay.
Brosnan.
Brosner?
I think it's Brosnan.
It was him.
Oh.
Alright, I got update Hubbardston housing needs assessment. There
Make it
are
a little bigger.
a little bigger.
Yep. There we go.
Are
Oh,
you
Jesus,
kidding?
not that big. Now you can't
Oh,
see the
that's
whole
good.
thing.
That's
All
good.
right. Okay.
Update the comprehensive study to understand the specific demand for affordable housing in Hubbardston, considering the town's demographic, income levels, and housing preferences. This was a very broad way to say that we need to look at the old documents and update them. And that should really be the main goal of the committee.
I would agree.
So I will yellow it so that I'll remember. Any changes while we're in here?
No, I kind of like that.
No,
It's
it's
very
good.
broad.
Yeah, they're all incredibly broad.
Yeah.
And they got identify suitable sites within Hubbardston. Explore and evaluate various locations within Hubbardston, including old gravel pits and other underutilized areas as potential sites for affordable housing development.
Sounds good. Yellow.
Assess the impact on Hubbardston's educational system. This was a personal one for me.
Okay.
Conduct thorough assessments of any proposed affordable housing project's impact on the local educational system, taking into account potential changes in student enrollment, class sizes, and the need for additional educational resources. I think this is more of a broad but down the road goal, like if.
Well, yeah, because if we had a whole, whether it's affordable housing complex that has families rather than geared towards seniors. So if there's an affordable housing complex that comes in, or a regular housing complex
Yeah.
that comes
Right.
in, it's going to affect our school system because there's going to be kids coming into the school system, which will raise our assessment, which will raise the money that the town owes for. And the taxes don't necessarily offset.
I have a comment about that one, because I did go to I don't even know what it was about, but it was about affordable housing. And this came up a few times, and they basically said that, no, it doesn't affect anything.
Yeah, it does.
But
Sorry.
the people there, mostly it was all east,
Yes,
you know,
it
all
does
of
not
Boston
affect
and
anybody.
surrounding, it was like we don't
Right,
even
right.
exist.
No.
Right, they have different
So,
considerations
yeah,
than we
so
would.
that was interesting to me, like, it was, you know,
They don't-
what about us?
Yeah.
It is going to affect.
Yeah, so a fun fact that they're trying to kind of fix up right now, and I went to a hearing on it the other day on Zoom from the State House, is rural communities were really disproportionately impacted by the Student Opportunity Act, whereas they were lifting up many, many school districts, they were doing so at the cost of rural communities, and they're talking about it now, and it doesn't seem like it's that far off, but you still never know.
Right.
Like, some of the things they were saying at this hearing were dead on, just that it's exactly what we're going through. But when the government on a state level is going to be pushing housing at this level, they have to at least fix the rates in which they're subsidizing the schools
Right.
in order to not bankrupt towns. But,
Yeah, 'cause say we had, 60 houses go in, and each house had 2 kids, that are going to go to our school system. That's gonna just bump our numbers up 120 students. How, I can't even fathom
Oh, yeah.
what that would do to there's a number that would bump our assessment up to, and I'm sure Nate could figure it out
Right,
doing some
right,
math, but,
right.
I don't know how the hell we pay for it.
and the tax rate and I forget what they call it, like the minimum per capita student rate are nowhere near each other. Like, one is the tax rate in Hubbardston, so let's say on a $400,000 house, about $6,000 a year, and the student rate is like $13,000. So,
Yeah, it doesn't
so I
offset.
think a goal
It's like
of this committee should.
Deregionalization
Well,
be
what it,
something to pursue at some point.
yeah, I don't, we can't go back to, as some people have said, going back to having Hubbardston just be Hubbardston, and we have all of our kids in-house, and that's not a real possibility, because there's not enough kids,
For sports.
not even sports, just like a science class.
And life's not like
and
that
things
anymore.
like that, like all the classes that they have and all the stuff that the classes take and need to
Well, that's what-
utilize, we can't do that.
But we can't afford it either, so then you have to look at what can you afford?
Well, the whole thing is either fixing the regional agreement that we have, or seeing if there's another one we could hop to, but that would be hard.
Yeah.
And that is something that came up on the select board level, and it's something we're going to, right now, we're just looking into it, but I'm gonna read the regional agreement from cover to cover, just because I don't think it's been done in a little while. And that is something that we could use to kind of get a more meaningful seat at the table, potentially, so we shall see.
Yeah, we gotta
The
do
new-
something.
The new superintendent already has reached out. I'm very happy that she's done so already. I don't know what it's actually going to do in terms of big time relevant changes, but it's more than was done in the past. So,
Yeah.
and that's at least a good foot forward. But one of the things that I have been trying to remind myself, to remind everybody else, is that it's not really the school's fault either.
No.
Like, any negative energy focused at the school from us is
Yeah.
focused at the wrong entity. Like, the state
The state,
is the
right.
one
They need to
that-
stop sending down unpaid mandates,
Yeah. On way to,
or
yeah.
cut them back a little bit.
Alright, so I don't know if that's a
Right.
goal, but I definitely think it should be something that's on your, list of things that you do.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
on
maybe
the
not a
radar.
goal, but as a consideration if
Keep an eye
something
on
were
it,
to
yeah.
happen.
This is something I am putting on as a select board goal as well, but review and revise Hubbardston zoning regulations, collaborate with members of the planning board to review and potentially revise zoning regulations to encourage the development of affordable housing projects, overcoming any challenges posed by repurposing gravel pits, etc. Yeah, that's something that we could do. The goal I'm gonna be proposing to the select board does it more under the guise of economic development and less as housing, but there are some heavy hurdles in those
Yep.
zoning
Yeah.
bylaws that I'm gonna be trying to make a plan with Chris and the planning board to look at over the next couple of years. Just because we can't say, oh, we're gonna do this all in one chunk. It's too much. That's not it. Engage with Hubbardston residents and stakeholders, something that the committee should be doing to actively involve residents, community organizations, and stakeholders to raise awareness about the need for affordable housing and gather valuable input on potential solutions. Seek Hubbardston-specific public-private partnerships, pursue partnerships with private developers, nonprofit organizations, or government agencies, taking into account Hubbardston's unique circumstances to leverage resources and expertise for affordable housing initiatives. That's like the number one thing the governor's administration is looking for right now in mass development grants. Like, most of what you're seeing come up as affordable or market rate housing in communities all over the Commonwealth is a public-private partnership between some sort of developer and a MassWorks grant. Research Hubbardston-specific grant funding opportunities, explore available grants and funding options specific to Hubbardston to support the development of affordable housing projects, including those related to land remediation for repurposing gravel pits.
Do any of these step on the planning board at all? I'm just asking.
From
Just-
the guise of affordable housing,
Okay.
no.
Okay,
If you were doing them just across the board, very much so.
okay.
And then I got incentivize developers for Hubbardston projects. This also could be, like, these type of goals or just ideas that are being brought up now or ever could also end up becoming a letter or a meeting with the planning board, a letter or a meeting with the select board to talk about, hey, we thought about X, what do you think? Like, at the end of the day, we're all one team.
Yeah, I don't have the expertise to come up with incentives.
It's okay, that's why we're all here.
And there's
The
really,
town
incentivize
offer.
was a very broad word. There's
Okay.
really only one incentive that developers are really gonna care about. Investigate the feasibility of offering incentives to developers interested in taking affordable housing projects within Hubbardston, especially in challenging locations like old gravel pits.
He likes that old gravel pit.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, the gravel pits, there's not a whole hell of a lot you can do with them,
Yep.
other than, housing or some kind of industrial, cause you have to reclaim them regardless, but there's not enough like road frontage in the front. I don't know, it's just, to get a road in and then back out is gonna be challenging to there's a whole lot of challenges that go along with it regardless of what it becomes. It's right now a big swath of
Nothing.
And unfortunately,
Whole.
there's not a ton of other opportunities.
Right.
There are some, but not with the potential to actually do some good, like over there. Sustainable and context-appropriate design. Encourage sustainable and innovative design practices that aligns with Hubbardston's local context, incorporating energy-efficient features and green spaces to promote a healthy living environment. That's another one of those things that's not a goal, but it is something to keep an eye out when different projects are proposed. And I'm hoping there are projects to be proposed. Monitor Hubbardston project progress and community impact, that's another one of those. Transparent communication with Hubbardston residents. And family-friendly amenities for Hubbardston residents. Advocate for incorporation of family-friendly amenities in affordable housing projects such as play areas, green spaces, and community centers, enhancing the well-being and educational outcomes of the children. That's another one of those things, if a 40B was ever to come up, we would be able to negotiate into a friendly 40B by noting different ways that the developers could potentially aid the community, either by doing roads that are leading up to their project, or creating a playground, or the sky's the limit, but they know most of the time what they're doing. Alright, those were my thoughts, and I've talked enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What you got, Erica? You got anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just where do you put it, you know? The gravel pits, and that's the biggest challenge is,
Yeah, there's not a lot of
no, there
opportunities.
isn't to meet that quota.
Oh,
And then
we're not
just-
gonna come near the corner.
And just, you know, getting back to the conference that I went to, it just seems like there's no representation from this side of the state at all. So it's just like all big city talk, and people who have public water and sewer, and
Right, we
like
don't
they
have
don't
that.
know. But I mean, I did come away from that there's help out there. You just gotta, you gotta go looking for it.
Yeah.
They don't really offer it up.
Well,
And-
we can't just follow one blueprint statewide, because every community's different, every town's different. Their infrastructure's different.
Well,
But everybody that seems to be involved in all these organizations and such seem to all be from, they don't understand anything
Right.
about this side of the state. I mean, like, there were people, it was Boston and, you know, Andover, Concord, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. I mean, those were the towns being represented
Yeah.
at this thing. It's just kinda like,
Well, and the other thing too is a lot of them that they don't understand is how much restrictions there are just in our town alone for water. You know, that area over there does have some watershed areas and stuff like that that go down into drinking water. And a lot of our town does. It's very restricted. We're kind of stranglehold by it, so you can only put so many septics in
Right.
an area like that, you know, like before it's a problem.
And that says how many families you can have in
Yeah.
an area.
Yeah, and that's, you know, part of the thing, then we have our zoning on top of it, that you have to have so much road frontage and everything else on, you know, so a 40B and stuff like that, you can, there are ways around things like that, but only to how much extent without water and sewer,
Right.
with the restrictions that are in place on any specific piece of property that would be viable for this. This is the uphill battle that the state does not have, they don't have any clue.
no.
But they'll inflict it on us and say, well, you have to have it. It's like, well, good luck with that. I don't know how to do that. So that's the challenge that we face. Or any developer coming in, like, these are the problems.
Right.
So, you know, we gotta kinda guide them rather than just trying to make a quick buck in Hubbardston and building up the town. You need to work with us on this to help us try to meet some of these goals within reason on this piece of property that may or may not be able to hold as much as you wanna put on there. So, yeah,
And there's some really smart people out there.
Yeah.
So absolutely, if there's a way to do these things, it's going to be figured out, but gets very difficult to find people to foot the bill. And like, even with people we've been speaking with recently, it's coming down to, with the Marinelli lot on Pitcherville, if it's worth it for their investment.
Yeah.
Right.
yep.
And they're being pushed by attorneys to ask her get off the pot,
Mhm.
and then they're saying, no, we need like 6 months to talk to this town
Mhm.
a little more and figure out what's actually feasible, so.
So then they start looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
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 So it's one of those, yeah.
But is it in our favor that we are negotiating and trying to solve the problem?
Yes.
I mean, we're making an effort.
I don't think the hammer is ever gonna come down for many, many years on a town like Hubbardston. Maybe could the Fitchburgs, the Marlboros, the Leominsters of the world get a little bit of squeeze from the government because they have the ability and the assets to do what they're talking about? Yeah, but I don't think it's ever gonna come down to Hubbardston's and Royalstons and Templetons of the world.
Well, yeah, the only worry that I have is if the T does come to Gardner, because then we could potentially
Being an
lose.
MBTA adjacent community.
Yeah, and lose some fun, lose grant privileges and
they-
fundings and stuff like that we kinda need just because they dump the
They're
T
gonna
into
impose
Gardner.
penalties on you if you
Well,
don't
that's
comply.
what they say. I don't know if they will.
They shouldn't even say that.
I know, well, the whole fact is if we're trying, I feel like, and we can show that we're trying, then that's something. But if we're not trying and we're just like flipping the state the bird,
Yeah.
then they're just gonna be like,
Right.
well, then screw you too, So, but if we're actively trying to do something, or have at least, like reaching out with the gentleman that we're at the planning board,
Yeah.
to try to work through some of the problems to get to a solution, then at least we tried.
At least we're talking about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we're not
that's
just
happening in other
like
little towns.
ignoring the big elephant
Yeah.
in the room,
So do we wanna just pick some of these for goals and then just vote on it and then we'll have goals?
Okay.
Then we don't have to do it again.
Yes, that's fine. So the first, is that the same thing that he
Yeah.
has up on his
Yeah.
board? Okay.
The
So
first
the first
two.
two definitely.
Yeah, I like the first two.
We can look at,
I like this one.
that's what I was just about to say, we can look at reviewing and revising some of the zoning. I mean, we don't have to be rocket science to
No.
figure that stuff out, we just gotta look at it to see if, well, that's gonna pose a problem.
We'll call green,
I'm
which
okay,
means
what do you think,
a
Erica?
lower tier, like.
I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So
Erica
we
being
can
on the
make that-
planning board, she can kinda be like,
Definitely
this one's
needs some
probably
more."
the problem.
Yeah, and that's
You could make that one yellow.
yellow.
Big one.
Which
It's a
one?
big one.
The
School?
review and revise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And especially if I'm going to be going forward to the select board in 2 weeks, talking about how a goal of theirs, thus mine, is to be looking at that over the next 5 years from an economic development standpoint, being able to partner with this board from a housing standpoint would be effective.
Well, cause the whole thing too, it can be looked at too upon, we don't have to change the zoning necessarily for the entire town. It could be an overlay on the pits that allows a little bit more housing friendly building without upheaving the entire town, cause a lot of people are like, no, we want to keep the frontage, we want to keep the wide open spaces, I don't want a neighbor right next door to me like in such and such a town, I don't wanna turn into Rutland. So it could be looked upon as maybe we just do an overlay in the pits or specific locations to allow a little bit more denser housing in very certain areas and not upheave the entire town. I'm just saying that's a way to look at it rather than upheave the entire
Yeah,
whole thing.
redo the zoning for the whole
Yeah.
town.
Unfortunately, there's a very thin line for public perspective between, hey, we're gonna focus on this and do an overlay, and spot zoning. Like,
Mhm.
that's, like, they're.
No, I get what you're
It's
saying.
pretty much the
so.
same thing.
It's
Yeah.
like when somebody, oh, we're gonna build something, the Taj Mahal, it didn't take much of a push. So that's just something we'll have to be aware of.
Yeah, no, we can't make it look like it's spot zoning, but at the same time, there's certain areas that would be more even, it is what it is, there's no way of saying it without saying it, it's not like we're trying to spot zone, but there's more spots that
Yeah.
would scream like, sand pits,
Right.
I don't know how to make without looking like it's spot zoning, but it's like, I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean?
Overlay.
Well, yeah, you can
Yeah.
say it, but then
Yeah.
somebody will come back and say, well, you're spot
That's
zoning.
what it is, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not, cause it's just, it's just desolate crap out there, they just strip everything to a big hole, it's gross. Anyway, it's dirt bike heaven, if you're into that.
No.
No.
This might be a nice one just to push you in the right direction of holding maybe public hearings or, and that kind of stuff when doing other goals. Like holding a public hearing on what people wanna see on the different Hubbardston housing needs documents.
So, so in other words, reach out to the
People,
residents,
yeah.
to see what they're interested in us.
Do another survey.
You could do a survey, or you could actually invite them
Yeah.
to, open, a public meeting. You can do both.
Prior to that, I think there's some finessing of what the board is trying to accomplish before talking to anybody about anything.
Yeah, 'cause then you just open up Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Well, when we revise this plan, before it's finalized, that would be a time to have people
Yeah.
come in, put that plan out, let them look at it, let them come in and comment on it.
And that would likely be an
That'd be a
appropriate
way
time
to-
to put out a survey.
Yeah, or just take their comments.
So why don't you put that one in green?
Alright.
That'll be our green one. So that way it's on the list, but it's like the further down one, so that way we have to get through a couple things first.
And a lot of these, I'll send it to you guys, a lot of these are just ideas for things to do that don't really need to be goals. Like, if you ever run into a housing grant and you wanna ship it over my way,
Yeah.
please do. Like,
Yeah, but if we just had a few goals and voted on them, then we'd have.
Yeah.
and you're right that incentivizing is likely not a affordable housing committee
Function,
project or function.
Yeah. It's not within our means.
because we don't have anything we can authorize,
No.
No.
at least not that I'm aware of.
No.
It's a young committee. I think
Yeah,
4
yeah.
goals, that as broad as they are,
Okay,
probably suffices.
Yeah, let's not get too heavy in this,
Yeah.
so we'll bog ourselves down, we won't accomplish shit. So, and that's not the point, then we'd just be spinning circles. Alright,
so those 4,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt those 4 as our goals.
I'll send them over.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
There we go,
Now
we
we
got
got
goals, yay!
Alright,
Now we're cooking with gas.
and the next thing I had on here was the MBTA Communities Act. I didn't know if you were familiar with it at all.
I am, yep.
I printed the thing off the website,
Is that the adjacent one?
yeah.
Yeah, where if they
I
come into
went to
Gardner,
a
we
meeting
kinda
out
get
in
screwed.
Concord. And they have a zoning by right, is what they're claiming, so that whatever your town zoning is, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that right comes from. It's not in the Constitution anywhere that the state has the right to zone.
I have no idea.
Usually rights are enumerated.
The MBTA zoning provisions are backed by legislation. So where,
But legislation has to be backed by the Constitution.
yes. This is a fundamental topic, so
Yes,
I'm
it
not,
is.
I'm not,
Not even
It
gonna.
is, so
yeah.
I was just thinking we might wanna consider writing a letter to the select board with some kind of comment on this, because it's not affecting Hubbardston, but you know they're not gonna just stop. 'Cause they never stop,
Well, that's the thing, that's the one where if they come into Gardner,
yeah,
they push the T to Gardner,
yeah, then we're in.
then we're in.
50 acres that you have to set aside, and the density is 15 units per acre. And we can't possibly support anything like that,
And the only place would be the sand pits.
but we wouldn't even be able to have
And
a
I don't
septic
even-
for that.
I don't even know.
I'd imagine
But
that
they
if
do-
that was
yeah.
ever going to occur, there would eventually be some sort of
They do
rural
have,
MBTA adjacent guidelines.
they do have by town, how much is really necessary, so, you know, towns are a lot lighter than communities,
Yeah.
With
cities.
cities, yeah,
So that is in there,
everything
but-
dense, yeah.
And then in a half joking, half realistic sort of way, I'm going to state that the MBTA isn't the most efficient organization, so.
What?
So we will know when things are coming
Yeah.
down the pipe, like.
Yeah, it's gonna take like, they'll announce it, that it'll be in 5 years, and the reality is it'll be 10 to 15 before it actually happens.
Like, so anything like that that may come, will get plenty advanced warning on.
Yeah,
And the reality is that we just don't have, it's not like we're hiding.
land, what, you don't
You
have
know,
it?
it's, exactly.
Katie's hiding land.
Yeah, I'm hiding land. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Well, I'd like to
Storing
see
water.
towns or select boards or something, just send a letter to the state, just saying that whatever, they're not comfortable with this, or they think it's overreach or something, just to give a little pushback. Cause you have the right to petition your government, and, you know. Because if we keep just letting them do whatever they want, they're just gonna keep doing whatever they want.
Well,
Isn't the committee that Ann Goby went to, isn't that, aren't they supposed to be
Yes.
helping
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
all that? Yeah.
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 And she kind of respectfully told a bunch of us around here, like, let me meet the people I don't
go
know.
first
And,
before you bother
and
me,
then
yeah.
I will come back, I promise.
Yeah.
She's like, you all know my cell phone number, like,
So, we'll maybe give her a
It's
chance to get
understandable.
into the seat
yeah.
and understand her powers.
It's just a creeping thing, and Ann Goby's not gonna be there forever.
Oh, I'm aware, but she is right now. And she just got into the seat because they just created
Created
it. So, just give her a second.
And I think that's a giant step in the right direction as well, showing that the governor and the administration are at least listening somewhat to the fact that
It's not totally falling on deaf ears.
that she knew, that they knew that there was a need for an advocate out here, so that we left the poor state senate alone, like.
Well, that's the whole thing, yeah, 'cause we started emailing,
Everybody was,
yeah.
everybody was.
you know, we send emails, you know, it's not like this is the first thing that has come up where they have totally crapped on small towns, you know, and didn't put us in the picture. It's
Right.
all the Bostons, the
Yeah.
Handovers, the,
Right.
you know, Somervilles, all that, Cambridge, you know, things like that, so, yeah, a lot of people have emailed and sent letters or spoken about directly to our reps, so they do hear us. I've, you know, bitten Donnie's head off quite the few times, and same with Ann, like, what the hell is this, you know? So,
And I read an annual legislative priorities letter from, like, with the approval of the select board to all of our representatives in the legislature. So if that is something you wanna review, just keep an eye out. I'd say probably January, we
Okay.
can start talking about that kind of stuff. And next year will be the hot one for them, because it will be right before an election cycle.
so next meeting, bring it back up to pressure Ann Goby, put that on your list.
When
That get,
comfortable.
that gives her,
Contact
yes,
Ann Goby.
that gives her a little bit of time, cause I'm sure we're not gonna have a meeting for a little bit, so.
And that would likely be the person to send your letter that you were talking about to, whether it's from Maria or from the Affordable Housing Committee, to get the most bang for your buck, per se. Yeah.
If town select board sent letters, that'd be a bigger bang. I know how they don't listen to people.
Trust me, they don't listen to select boards either, it's
Well,
just goes
I
in a
think
pile.
I think it has more weight than just an individual.
Yes and no.
Yeah, I know, it just
Yeah.
kinda goes in a pile, trust me.
So where that differs is, sometimes, absolutely. Other times you have to remember the select board and the boards that are squeaky wheels send letters on everything.
Yeah.
So sometimes it gets to be,
Like, oh, here's
Well,
another
like,
letter
here's
from
another
Hubbardston
letter,
again,
like,
put it
they
in the
re-
pile.
Well, we're not doing that, right? I think this is a huge,
Only on something,
a huge.
yeah.
on things that are
They're
important.
coming in and taking over your zoning.
Yeah.
I agree, I'm not disagreeing with you,
I think
if
that's a
that's
huge
what it
issue.
is.
That's why we have to be
It's zoning
proactive.
by
Yeah.
right,
Yep,
To
like,
protect.
what right?
that's why, let's let Ann get seated. And give her a second, and like I said, next meeting, maybe we readdress, if you wanna write up a draft
Okay,
of what you know, kinda dig into that a little bit and write a draft letter.
Yep.
So that way we can either tweak it, or the select board can tweak it, or Nate can tweak
or
it.
say no,
Yeah, something that, so at least you have the, you know, the little bits and pieces of that packet that you have that's really gonna screw us.
it's just scary,
Yeah, trust me, it's all scary.
because they never stop.
No.
Okay,
They just keep trugging away,
yep,
coming down Route 2 at us.
does anybody have anything else?
Section 3A1, an MBTA community shall have a zoning ordinance. Yeah, there's legislation behind all of this.
Yes,
And as much as I get where we're going with this, legislation does not actively and always connect to our founding documents. It should, but in this one, I can point to the MBTA legislation of, I think this is,
What, when they wrote the Constitution, they weren't thinking of affordable housing? How dare them?
maybe, maybe they were.
now I'm talking about what a right is. They
Oh.
didn't put a right of zoning in
Yeah,
there.
it's a 2017 housing choice law.
Was there even zoning when they wrote the Constitution? Probably not.
Was the Constitution written before 1984?
Well, no, but I just mean zoning in general, like, that wasn't even
No,
a
it's
thought, was it? No.
80s, late 70s.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it's like, that wasn't, so some of this crap, it's hard, cause that wasn't in the realm. Hell, electricity wasn't in the realm.
My view is that we're not gonna stop it, so we need to just protect as much as we can and have good representation. I hope that other towns are thinking about it and sending people to, I mean, I love the things that I went to and I learned a lot, and I just hope that other towns around us are gonna fight too.
Well, think of like, look at Ashburnham, you know, like they, like,
Westminster's impacted by it too.
So is
Yeah.
Princeton.
yeah, like, think about this,
Princeton,
it's like,
everybody.
we're all,
Yeah.
like, these little tiny,
Yeah,
what the hell, you want us to do what now? Where are these kids going to school? Yeah.
Princeton, they don't know what to do. CMRPC is trying to help them because it's the smallest sliver of this town that's touching the Fitchburg.
yeah,
Oh, they're already touching, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Because the
Yeah.
Westminster station is in the furthest point
Is
of
in
Fitchburg.
Fitchburg,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and Princeton touches it. So
Ah. Oh,
cause you
man.
just don't have the infrastructure for that.
No,
Why
they don't.
built
They're
it.
like-
they do not.
No,
They have, do they have, how many people do they have in Princeton? Less than us,
Under
right?
4,000.
Yeah, they're a little bit smaller
But
than
they
us,
have-
not by much, but,
But their budget is double.
well, that's because they're
Nah.
all like,
wealthy, 4,000. Well-to-do,
it's like, it's like
well-to-do.
Westminster. Everything's fancy.
They're getting deluged. Did you see what they're doing on
No.
Noah?
On where?
Noah Road, they're putting in that multi-housing.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, I
Have
know.
you seen it?
No, no, my in-laws live down there.
And a
Interesting.
cardboard box company. Like there's some economic development going on out there too, industrial.
Just dumping houses everywhere over
All
there.
the trees are gone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have a big housing, you dump houses and
And
all the
you-
trees are gone.
And you dump a lot of people into the country.
Yeah. And the city folk come out
Okay,
here
I don't
and
have
then they
anything else.
freak out about the bears.
It is ridiculous how fast.
There's a bear.
I know, it's like, yep, don't worry. Wait till the neighbor with
I
the
tell them,
rooster.
bring your bird feeder in. I like to feed the birds.
Yeah.
When you're gonna get the bear shot,
Yep.
bring the bird feeder in. The birds don't eat it.
No, but they, you know, whatever, you do you. You do you. Let me know when it knocks on your door, okay?
So we need a next meeting date? I
Do-
blew the last one. I brought a calendar so I can write.
I got a calendar on my phone. Alright, so,
Mondays are hard, cause there are a
Okay.
lot of other meetings.
That's what she said,
I said
Opposite
opposite a
select
select
board
board meeting, there's no meeting, you're
That's
full
when I
of
go
crap.
to the other place I see Erica,
Where?
the gym.
Oh, stop it. Stupid Jim, shut up. Alright, so are we doing like every month or every other month?
every other,
That's what I'm asking.
that's what we were doing last time.
Okay, so we're looking at September then?
Yeah.
I have no idea what my select board meetings are in September, it's on the
First
list.
and third,
So the
it's,
4th and the 18th,
I think so.
right there. No, the 4th is Labor Day, so it'd be the 5th,
So Tuesday the fifth,
and the 18th.
So 11th?
Is that a holiday, September 11th?
No.
No, it's not an actual
Not yet.
holiday.
No,
Okay. I'm
it's
fine
just a
with it.
sad day.
Yes, I'm aware it's a sad day. Alright, wasn't sure if anyone made it an official holiday yet.
it will be.
I'm sure it will be. I can't see it
There's
not.
Someone filed to have, what's that other holiday right there? There's another Monday holiday right there. There's a lot of Monday holidays in September.
It's Labor Day.
Yom Kippur, I don't think they'll do
I
that.
don't think Yom Kippur
I don't
is
even know what that is.
It's in my calendar.
Yeah, I was on mine too. I was like, what the hell's the 25th? I'm like, I don't know what that is.
It's a Jewish holiday.
Yep. It's,
They have lots.
hey, that's fine.
Okay, September 11,
Okay,
all right.
I'm gonna put it in my calendar right now.
Motion to adjourn?
I am so moved. Like, whatever. Like, ugh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.